From 1970 to 1995, producer P.J. O'Connell chronicled the diverse lives and stories of rural Pennsylvania. Immersing himself in the world of his subjects, P.J. tirelessly documented the extraordinary complexity of ordinary lives. Now, from the archives of Penn State Public Broadcasting, we present the video-on-demand exclusive series, P.J. O'Connell's Pennsylvania Parade.
I'm P.J. O'Connell, a documentary producer at Penn State Public Broadcasting. Documentary implies important, weighty, sometimes dreary, and if it's not, then it may be called frivolous or lightweight. But one form of documentary which has frequently been produced here at Penn State Public Broadcasting is both important and interesting. Observation is the basis for these documentaries, usually observation of an individual deeply involved in some area the producers found important, weighty, so forth. It's really a very old approach. To be interesting, it's the people who are fun to watch. This edition of the Pennsylvania Parade begins a series of individual portraits in which you'll really meet, some interesting and important people. This edition observes a small businessman, important because he represents a part of our society that provides work, products, and, if he's skillful and lucky, profits and stability. And he is interesting. Jack Sitkin is impatient, sometimes loud, belligerent when necessary, often thoughtful, and always interesting. In this very dense personal portrait, you can hear about work, business, family heritage, toughness, and if you listen at all carefully, you'll hear the joy of living and doing.
What is creating this situation at the moment? Is it year-end covering or what?
No, a lot of consumers and fabricators had their inventories down to rock bottom. They were very pessimistic. Then all of a sudden...
We're losing a lot of metal right there in between flag offs now. I can't understand that. We didn't have messed up like that before.
Then I don't want to make it. Then take it the hell out of the furnace, because all we're going to do is go through an exercise of futility. There's no guarantee that the goddamn tin units putting that charcoal in flux is going to come out into the brass.
This is an American business. It's a tough business, but perhaps most of them are. It's a small business, and in fact, most businesses are small business, 95% according to government statistics. It's a family business, and again, most businesses are family-owned and operated. In this case, though, the family business has grown to the point where its shares are publicly traded on the American Stock Exchange. But it was not always this way. Jacob Sitkin came to America as a Latvian immigrant. After a stint in the steel mills near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, he bought a horse and wagon and moved up the Juniata River Valley, collecting old iron, hides, rags, paper, junk. In 1907, he founded the business, Sitkin Independent Iron and Metal Company. He was 18.
Toronto. What is your name, miss? I got to fly all the way from Pennsylvania to Toronto. Make damn sure that they have my reservation.
In 1934, Jacob Sitkin died at age 45, and a son, Louis, took his place. Lou was 19.
No problem. Thank you very, very much.
In 42 years, Lou Sitkin built the business into the 6th largest producer of brass, bronze, and secondary copper ingot in the country. The company smelts, melts, sorts, bales, burns, crushes, separates, and otherwise recovers 60,000 tons of metals annually. Its products range from old battery lead to gold bars. Sitkin Independent Iron and Metal Company is now Sitkin Smelting and Refining Incorporated, with 300+ employees and $50 million in sales in a good year. Lou Sitkin is chairman of the board. But this is the story of yet another son. Jack Sitkin is the 3rd generation of his family to make a living in junk. He was brought into the business as a youngster and trained by his father, Lou Sitkin. He made and learned from the necessary mistakes. And today at 39, Jack is vice president and secretary of the company. As he says, just an average good businessman.
I would never say that. I would never say that. You're my buddy. Would yes, tell him I said to call me the minute he walks through that door. It's important. You might be able to get that off that big box over there. All the prints and everything are in it. This is a pretty important decision. I need some information. All right? All right, get back to me on that. I'll keep you busy for a couple of days. Let me. You're listening to this, Cheryl? How did you say it again, what you said about us girl? Don't you think it would sound better if you would let us alone, or if you would let the girls alone? Doesn't us girls ring of you'uns and us'uns? Huh? Cheryl? Joe Berlew, contact Jack Sitkin on 2:30 immediately, please. Oh, wait a minute. He's over at the new school. I just got through going through your ridiculous correspondence. Denny, a good business letter is short, concise, and to the point. It doesn't ramble on with redundancy after redundancy for... who has time to read that shit? I gotta hire a girl to do nothing but read your letters. What happened to Green Bay? What was their record? Oh, they had a wild card spot. Huh? Wild card spot? Were they listed in the standings?
Tied for last.
Were they really? Who tied them?
Bear.
No shit. Well, that's a tough break, because last year they had it all themselves.
No, they didn't. Bears had it.
Oh, shit. Yours talks back to you, then again. You gotta wait for a while. I'm Jack Sitkin. I'm Vice President and Secretary of Sitkin Smelting and Refining Company in Lewistown, Pennsylvania. Our company primarily produces brass and bronze ingots. My prime responsibility at the company is operations, which includes everything from manufacturing to security to personnel, you name it. How you doing? I've been here. Am I working? I'm still dogging it, old buddy. You better believe it. It's just as long as I can get away with it, I'm going to do it. Okay. The last couple of months have been real good. We're getting busy again down here. But, usually our industry... Huh? Hold on to your stock. Usually when things go to hell, we're the first ones that... Well, how's it usually work now? When they get bad, we're the first ones to get it. But when they start to get good, we're also the first ones to, see the improvement. And it's not what it was a couple years ago, but at 73. But boy, it's a whole lot better today than it was at the beginning of the year. Yeah, we did. Yeah, nobody showed up. No, nobody ever shows up. Our stockholders are very content. Years ago when the Jewish immigrant or the Italian immigrant, most people in the scrap industry are Jewish, came to this country, he went into the business and he did a job that nobody else wanted to do, and he did it very well, and he did it quietly. And he did his job so well that he was, you know, for the most part taken for granted. Yeah, that little junkyard's down the end of the street. You know, that's where I haul my copper to, or I haul my automobiles to. And he had a pretty decent return on his investment. He had to work like a devil, but he made a living. Through the Depression and all, he made a living. Okay, in the scrap part of the business, the profitability is, there's money to be made, but it's not a consistent situation. And a lot of the sons and grandsons who have been sent away to college to become lawyers and doctors are looking at the scrap business and walking away. So for a period of time there, the people were just throwing up their hands and going out of business. You called me before you got another rejection. Jesus Christ. Listen, you can't ship in this kind of market. I don't give a damn what their specs are, unless you're right next door. You get murdered. Jesus Pete. Just absolutely murder. They don't want it, they don't want it, that's all. Let scrap be tight like it was a year ago, and it's a different ballgame already. So that's in the history of this business. It's always been that way, ever since I've been a kid. They don't. That's one thing that doesn't change. When they want it, they want it. When they don't want it, they don't want it. So that's right. That's right. That's right. Biggest whores in the world. Our emphasis here on the on scrap has been, you know, considerably less down through the years. Our emphasis has been in the brass manufacturing end of it, which evolved from the scrap, and the precious metal refinery, and the handling of residues and slag. So we're not, you know, that real upset when the scrap iron market is weak. We'd like to see it strong all the time, but, you know, it only makes up about maybe 1/40th of our sales, so, you know, it's not a great big concern. The purpose of making brass is to buy raw material at a certain price, pay for all your expenses, cost of turning it into ingot, and then sell that ingot at another price, and in between all these costs and the sales price, there's something left over. Last week, I think, it came out to 1,625 tons. Now we're coming up with 1,783 tons.
Wait until I bring that up.
Well, there's something screwed up here. I know that figure was 1,625. She's going to run over it, and I'll get back to you. 2 days from the week of September 29th to the 3rd, it was 687,000 pounds in 5 days running. That's 137,000 pounds a day times 3. I don't care whether there's young people today who think that profits is a dirty word or not, but I'll tell you that if they ever go in business, they better make them. Because if you're not earning money, you're sure in trouble. You know, essentially, the company is nothing more than buildings and equipment. The idea is that the people that work there, you know, gain something from being there. And in our case now, stockholders, you know, get something for their investment. That hasn't been happening because, unfortunately, last 2 or 3 years, business is a little rough. Our profits are not what they should be, but we're doggone glad to be in the black because there's a lot of people that can't say that today. But oh, that's impossible. All right, Jack, take it away. No. We only work 3/4 of the month. Well, then how can he have expenses more than a whole full month?
Well, I can show you where they came in.
All right, show me. He's got the labor more, which is ridiculous.
Well, whatever you paid, the number of days that were paid, and the people, this was actually from payroll and the payroll accruals. Here, your refractories went way up.
What's other supplies, $26,000?
That's refractories, Jack. You're looking at the wrong column.
No, I'm not.
Right.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, right there. Boy, they didn't handle a lot more material. In fact, they handled less material.
That's internal costing, and
They
was production had been down in the foundry because sales and releases were down. We didn't need the production. And with a certain fixed overhead, that really clobbers you. I mean, there is a certain break-even point that you have to maintain. And in order to keep your costs in line, so many units of production for that particular month. If you don't do that, then you can have borderline months or lost months, and it can get pretty severe.
This is cookies. Now, if we go to this figure, it's going to make matters even worse.
The cookies figure's the only accurate figure. Total.
Yeah, and then the loss is 18,281.91.
Okay, well, what's the total profit?
2492538.
Well, you goddamn near write me out, Jack. Was that based on 10.5 cents?
No, I didn't get any kind of.
Go back and ask
was
Rosenberg.
just, no one. Oh.
Ask Rosenberg what that figure is. I think I might have jacked that son of a bitch up. Okay, 10.50. Write that down there so I don't forget it. So that's 2 cents a pound. That's 1,346 a ton. $53,000. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
That belt's done, the shear's done. But down there's what we got to worry with now.
I frankly have never looked at what I do every day as a job.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd get Johnny Peterson on the phone tonight and tell him you want him in here Monday and Tuesday, and we'll give him the trucks. We'll do it during the week.
It's not going to take that much dirt there, though.
All right,
until
so...
we pour that.
All right.
I think if we could get up there on the hill with 3 trucks, say 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 evenings, we can haul enough.
But it ain't gonna. If it's not gonna take that much, it ain't gonna cost you that much. He's only gonna be here for a couple of days.
Yeah, true. But
so let's put him up there.
Spending $22.50 an hour for the
Yeah,
cash.
but I'm gonna get 3 times as much stuff hauled too, and I'll put it here in case I need it then.
Well, you're gonna need it here.
All right.
The incentive comes from the fact that my father's always been in business, and it's his business essentially that I'm in, even though it's a publicly held company now. He had designs on my being a metallurgist. I had some interest in law and interest in teaching. And as I've always said, I left college. We parted by mutual consent. I was glad to leave, and they were glad to see me go. And then I went to work in the office. I had always worked at the plant in the summertime, ever since I was in 8th grade, and right straight through high school, whether if it was Christmas vacation or Thanksgiving vacation, college, whatever it was, the first place I was at was down the plant, working down the wharfs or in the warehouse. I really liked it.
I found out one thing. What's that? Smokes like a son bitch, huh?
No combustibles, baby. No real heavy combustibles. Like that sawdust and stuff. What happens is the son of a bitch, the smoke comes clear out.
Yeah.
Clear up through the feet.
You can't run anything through there until we get a fan in there to suck that out of there.
Yeah,
draw that smoke through a scrubber.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good idea anytime.
Sure. You know.
Columbus took
nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Well, I always say Columbus took a chance. Look what happened to him. He ended up in chains.
Yeah, right.
And it was a number of years then before I made a commitment to the business. Probably 2-3 years. I didn't know what else I wanted to do, and for wanting of a better thing, that's what I did. And I liked being around the men, and I liked being at the plant. And then somewhere around the age of 22, I made the commitment. I got married at 23, and that really solidified the commitment. And I've been working through at various levels in the company till I attained my present position, which when your father's the boss makes things much simpler when you're climbing up through the ranks. What? Well, it usually comes out, hey, Dick, that shredder ingot, what's most of it coming out?
It depends. 120.
115 and 120s they're making out of them, Dad said. He just yelled across the hall. What dead ingot? Phil, I don't know anything about dead ingot. You're getting in an area that I'm not involved. I think you're going to have to talk to Dad. I mean, he's buying that stuff. He knows what he has in it, and he knows what he wants to do with it. There's no sense in yelling at me not to... There's no sense in telling me not to put it in the furnace. We're not busting our balls. I mean, sure, we're making a product out of it. Now we're trying to find out if you guys down there can take it from there, and whether we should pour it into animal molds. But I've enjoyed it. It's a kind of business that takes a total commitment. We work, I'm in the office every day, 7 days a week. I go in a little later on Sunday now because the children, when they came along, they want to be with their father, and so Sundays I take the kids to the office with me now, and I'm there only an hour and a half, whereas when Patty and I first got married, my weekend started Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, and that's when I came home, and we had the rest of the evening, and that was it. And Saturday was a full work day, and back down in the evenings,
And Christ, nobody knows whether the goddamn stuff will go in the metal or not. It's not reduced. No, you're not. You're just mixing it with charcoal and borax. That shit, that's no guarantee that when you get it into brass, it's going to reduce for you. I mean, there's no goddamn safety valve anywhere. Suppose you make a 315 and that stuff doesn't go into 10 units. And then what do we do for the rest of the week? What form is that in?
I have had Philip run into my office many times and yell, "You're going to have a heart attack, you're going to have a stroke." Fortunately, my blood pressure is very good and everything seems to be moving around. But nobody can yell and scream like that and not have something happen, because, boy, there's been times when I've kicked in filing cabinets, and I'll never forget, it must have been 5 years ago, the boss got so bad he hit the desk so hard he broke his wrist, and they come out to the company picnic that afternoon, the big cast on. And I know Grassmeyer's probably busted 4 helmets down there. Takes them off and throws them down on the floor. You read about that stuff in magazines. That's a joke. A guy takes his hat off and jumps on it. Sometimes you do it. You might not jump on it, but you give it a hell of a pitch. It makes you feel better. Always makes me feel better when I blow my cork. And if I'm wrong, I feel bad too, and more than one time I'll apologize.
I got an idea. I want to try it. I want Bob Wilson to put together a list, and I want the men in this room to inspect other people. In other words, I want to set up before the next, by at least the middle of January. I want Bumgardner to come up and inspect Gary's department. I want Gary to go down and inspect his. I want Leon to go up and inspect Bishop's. I want Druckenmiller to go over and inspect Leon's.
I expect these guys to run their own show and run their own shop, and they know what's expected of them. I know that I could go out into anybody's operation and find things that I don't like. But it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to have been there at the beginning of that particular day and understand why a particular thing is that way.
But I know damn well that it would be a crying shame with all the effort, and money, and time we put into our own program to suddenly have some guy running in here next week and just pinning our ass to the wall. We'd all sit around here and say, well, shit, we should have known this or known that, and everybody will holler at Dale, and he'll feel bad, and we'll feel bad, and I'll be very upset. And we got to do. I think we got to do something that that's on a continual basis. How's the shoes working out, and the gloves? Are we
Real good. We're selling roughly 25 pair of gloves a week.
The guys seem to be appreciative of the fact that they can do that. Are we getting paid?
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to meet and know guys like Leon Grassmeyer or Lou Druckenmiller or Dave Bishop or Gary Sherman. These guys are moving. And if they've got a problem or they need an answer to something, the last thing in the world anybody can do that's running a tribe like that is vacillate or, be dishonest or anything, because, you're finished.
It's not a question of drinking beer, but, I come in the morning at 8 o'clock and I can eat a sandwich. That's a different kind of year. I could drink a beer at 8 o'clock if I had.
No.
But you're going to need somebody to clean it up.
Once the beer's out, then everyone leaves. That's what retains people. Believe it or not.
Well, you could even say, you could set the party 8 to 11, 8 to 12. Last year when I left, it was around noon, and just about everybody was gone.
Yeah, we started at 10.
Was it 10 o'clock? Yeah. You know, our guys work hard and our people work hard, but we do have a lot of fun. I mean, it's the company itself, I think, is unique in its whole attitude towards its labor and its labor's attitude towards management. We have our Christmas party's coming up pretty soon. A lot of companies have stopped that. Ours gets bigger every year. See, in the old days, they used to show dirty movies. Well, I stuck down when I was a kid, and I went down, I got right up in the front row to watch the dirty movies. Well, Dad wouldn't come down. And he would holler down every once in a while. Remember they had that two-way speaker from the, down by the press there in the shop? Every once in a while he'd call down and ask what I was doing. And he didn't, well, God, we stayed there, you know, every night. And, you know, some of those guys, like Clockworks, 9 months later, they were fathers. We had one guy went 3 straight years. I won't mention his name. We had one guy 3 straight years in a row, and 9.5 months later, the kid. 9 months later to the day. Okay. About 3 more years, boy. Hey, just cracked up. 25 after 9 in the morning. Ain't gonna take too long.
Oh, right. Well, you're ready for front office, see?
We had a circle a little bit. Gee, that would have been great because I had a 9:45 flight to Louisville. Yeah. We picked up Doc Adler there and went on down to Hot Springs.
But we've had that thing every year for years. And the guys really look forward to it. I look forward to it. It's the end of the year, and you've got through another one, and you want to wish Merry Christmas to the guys. And many instances, I don't get out in the plant as much as I used to. I get to see some guys that I haven't seen for a while, and it's kind of nice to swap old stories like I used to have.
Go out there as much as your life is worth. You'll be out there playing cards, and of course, this old man used to drink then. He'd get drunk, start throwing his money away and yelling and screaming, and then they'd get a call. Some guy is, you know, trying to take his daughter out. First thing you know, we're up in a goddamn back road someplace. And there's a fist fight going on, and tire irons flying. And every Saturday night, out at Bailey's house for cards and a fight.
All I know is every time I went out there, you were getting somebody in a fight, you put your fist through the window of a car.
Well, he called me, didn't he?
Huh?
I didn't call him. He called me, told me where to meet him. So I went out and met him.
And he wouldn't open up the car door. He had it locked, so Dave takes his hand and goes wham, right through the goddamn side window, smashes the window. So we're all sitting in front of the JP. Looks at me. Did you see him? He put his? No, I didn't see anything like that. He didn't have a mark on his head after everybody left. The JP came over to me after everybody left and said, I know you guys are lying.
When you have an opportunity to get involved in that kind of a thing, where you're really, you know, like my heroes were all in the plant, you know, and I was going to run a lift truck. That was what I was going to do, or I was going to be a truck driver. Like my son goes down every Saturday morning to drive a tractor now. He's 12 years old. He's going to be a truck driver. That's it. And you just have a feeling, gives you a good feeling for, you know, for setting an atmosphere so that the company is not so damn cold and impersonal.
You're all going to run out there and feed all the old people ice cream and then sit back and say what a good group you guys are.
No, we're not saying what a good group we are. We're just saying that we help out in the community.
I think that if a measure of your contribution to the community
yes, go ahead.
Is that you serve ice cream to old people, I think that's a reflection of the intellectual
they're not old people over there.
Huh?
They are not all old people.
What are they? Poor people. Poor old people.
No, they're not all old.
Well, what's the age range?
There's some children over there.
Are there?
There are some families over there.
In the poorhouse?
Yes.
I didn't even do that.
See? If you belong to a community organization like that, you'd find out something.
Ice cream with it.
Well,
that's like
it's something that they don't get very often.
What other things does your outfit plan other than feeding the old people ice cream?
We're buying a water mattress for them all to home. Now listen, Jack, if you have to lay in bed,
you have to get laid, you should have a water mattress.
If you have to be sick in bed, you see how many bed sores you get on your...
You know the sorority she belongs to? Two of their pet projects, major projects so far this year, are feeding ice cream to the people in the poorhouse and getting a water mattress for the women and the fellows at the Malta home.
And the ladies that are using it are 101 years old.
Well, I think they deserve a lot of credit.
I think they deserve
My God,
a watermelon.
you won't be doing it when you're 101. Well, you're 101 now, okay?
Oh, I am not. Close, but not there yet. I hope you have lots of bed sores, Jack. And you'll appreciate a water mattress.
Well...
The great bulk of the suppliers of scrap to our plant are Jewish. The Jewish immigrant who came over and became a peddler, a scavenger. So obviously, as a consumer of brass, secondary brass, it's to our advantage, for example, to have people on the road calling on these people who are Jewish. On the other end of the thing, the great bulk of the people we sell our product to are Protestant. So, although the chairman of the board sells more than anybody else, the bulk of our sales staff is Protestant. I suppose in the big business world, and I have books and I've studied it, you'll find a lot of Jewish accountants, but you don't find many Jews in big banks. Clearly, to me, it's no advantage to be a Jew.
See, it's stored in my yard. Comes to my yard every day on trucks. And the best deal for him is for me just to buy it from him, you know, and then I'll sell it. Okay, so that's the whole geschäft. Right. All right. Well, all right. He called me and he gave me his prices, and you know, right now I'm just sitting on it because I want to see what happens at the end of the month with the industrial list. The market looks very strong, as you know, and I want to see just. I talk to people that want to buy my scrap, so that's, you know, that's where it's important. I'm not going to sell right now. I'll call you. I'll be my pleasure to spend a nickel and call you. I'll call you at the end of the month. I wouldn't dream of selling it without first calling you. All right? Okay, Morton. Well, strong as hell.
A lot of people have a tendency to look at Jewish people as being all business people, but I know a lot of poor Jews, and there's a lot of laboring Jews in New York City. Not all Jews are in business, but in small towns you find this. But I think that in the long run, that it's not a plus to be a Jew. It's not a plus at all. It might help you in some areas in dealing with other Jews, but I can't see how anyone could ever say that it's some kind of an advantage, other than the Lord who said we were his chosen people. But we've had a rough road since those days.
This meeting as another meeting in the long line and a succession of meetings to bring you up to date on where we're at with this elusive new plant that we're trying to build. And since Mr. Price, who's a member of the board of directors of the firm, has complained quite bitterly that he's not being informed of what the hell's going on, I have asked him to join us today. It's nice to have you with us, Mr. Price.
The decision to build a new plant is an outgrowth of the new Air Quality Act. We had put pollution control equipment on our plant back in 1968, and it doesn't comply with the new law, and the environmental people said that we had to come into compliance, and it became our opinion at that time to go out and spend more money on the old plant was folly, that if we're going to spend $500,000 on more pollution control equipment, let's build a new plant with larger capacity and cheaper operating costs to help offset the capital investment a little bit. And that's how the new plant idea was born.
At this particular point, I'd like Wilbur Lew to outline for you.
Locally, we have put together what is known in the state of Pennsylvania as a PETA loan. And what that is, the state will lend a company that wants to come into the state or expand within the state money at, today it's running 4%. And what a qualifying company has to do is get the local banks or banks in the state to also loan money, and they put it together and they call it a PETA loan, and it's long-term money, and you take the bank's interest rate and put that together with the PETA money and average it out to get your effective interest rate.
That Joe said that might have went over what you might have missed. In the beginning, it was our understanding that smoke control was part of the PETA guidelines as far as what they'd advance money on. But their concept of smoke control and our concept of smoke control are two vastly different things. They're talking about some ventilators in the roof, not a $500,000 pollution control system. That was never explained to us locally, and it was never explained to us at the state level until we started to have some problems as to how we were going to draw down money. And several times the boss went to Harrisburg to meet with these people, and they kept saying, Lou, we're not going to finance the pollution control. Lou, we're not going to finance the pollution control. Well, what that's done now is changed the whole thing around, because now I got to go out and find the money for the pollution control. So, you know, the one government agency wants to make you spend it, but then they don't tell you where you're going to get it. So that's the problem. And I don't have to tell you. So, you know, so now it's, they're now saying, look, we'd like to work this out, and we think we can compromise, and they've been very sincere about it. But what it has done is put me in a position where I have to now go out and raise another $600,000 or $800,000, which I'm attempting to do through from various sources. But I don't really, I'm not very optimistic about the possibility of it coming through. And unfortunately, you know, you have a situation in our state where it's difficult to find people, either locally or on the state level, that will take hold of something and try and get it done. You know, there's a program here and there's a program there, and now you go find it, and you apply and you do this, and it's not with any great sense of urgency, and I appreciate the sympathetic comment that you just made, but I have a great big feeling that that the Commerce Department in the state of Pennsylvania doesn't give a shit whether industry leaves or not. That's my own personal first-hand experience with them, and you know, I can only go by that. Maybe other people have had, you know, better experiences. I wrote. So you say to us, I'm trying to make brass ingots, and I've got you know all these outside things that pressure you, and sometimes you know it really gets discouraging, because the ideal situation would be able to go to work every day and make your product and work like hell and not have to be concerned about some of those things. And you know, of course, there are many other things that I just got through with a railroad, with the reorganization of the railroad, the USRA. They're going to take away our railroad siding. You know, so I spent a lot of time on that, testifying at hearings in Avoca. You know, I'm supposed to be down here making brass, and I'm up in Avoca testifying because the railroad is down here, and they're going to take away my railroad because they don't have the right statistics on just how much business the company is giving them and what it's contemplating. So you got to get in there, and you got to plow in, and you got to get the information through to the right people to protect yourself, to maintain your your situation. Those kinds of things come up continuously, not to mention weather and you name it. So the people that sit at the top of organizations have to be tough. And anyone in a management situation, I don't care what level it is, he's got to be a strong guy. If he isn't, he's going to get run over. Someone's going to run over him, either the guy on top of him or the guy under him. Well, I can tell you that his trips up here, it wasn't the same guy I met 2 years before when we signed a contract to use his equipment. Stan, look. Stan, I'm not going to be placed in a position where I'm defending myself to you. That's ridiculous. I'm only telling you the situation as I know it. If you want to sue me, I told you before, strike up the band, come on. I'm only telling you what I know, and I'm telling you, and I won't be as nice as you. I'll tell you right now on the phone that he's a liar, and I'll tell him that to his face, and I'll tell him that in a court of law. And I know what my lawyer and I discussed. I have the letters here. If he doesn't in his file, then that son of a gun threw him out for whatever purposes he may have in mind. I don't know what your relationship with him is, or Zeke's relationship, and I don't want to know. All I'm telling you is that is what happened, and that took an obstinate posture because he didn't get the renewal of the lift trucks.
I sit up here and tried to do something to help them because I was given the business somewhere else, and then all of a sudden this guy does a complete reversal. Well, that's as far as I'm concerned, that's really dumb, and it's dumb for a lot of reasons because if he irritates me enough, these things come up for bid in another 6 or 7 months. Now, if he'd like to be off the list, you tell him to just keep acting the way he is. Well, there's a lot of things you're unaware of, Stan. I'll send you a copy of this October 31st letter. And I got a bunch of other stuff here, too, I can sort through here for you. And, okay, I'll send this out to you. All right. Right. Cook, make me a photostat of that right away, will you? Ed, didn't we have a purchase order then that we issued? We requested. It's a long life. There's lots of other business to be done. Right, wrong, or indifferent. The customer's the one that's right, except when I'm the customer. You got to be tough to be in business. It's no place for little boys. There are so many things that are involved that have nothing to do with why you're even in business, that rip you apart, absolutely rip you apart. And you have to learn to live with these things. You learn to find ways to cleanse your soul to maintain your sanity. I'm president of Skills, which is a sheltered workshop that I'm involved in town. See a truck back into a dock, he's going to... At Skills, the first prime responsibility of the people that sit on that board is to finance the facility. We can do we do all the talking we want to about rehabilitation and all these things. But the first things first. First you got to finance the thing and not lose money at it, and then you can get into all the other philosophical aspects of, why you're there. You know where to go, right? Yeah, well, we were over there one time. Yeah, okay. Right. Between Skills and the school board, there's a lot of other things to challenge you mentally than just the normal everyday things that go on. I suppose that operating a plant or running a plant, manufacturing end of it anyhow, there's Andy Marafka, would be enough, but I think it's nice to be worried about things other than just your business. It's hard to describe, but it's almost relaxing in a way. I have to call up Dr. Lang over at State College and say, no, get your area committee together. You guys over there got to get some things done, or you're not getting enough clients or workers in, and the facility is this or that, and he's the committee chairman over there. He might be right in the middle of drilling someone's tooth, and he's got to hear this call from this brass maker over in Mifflin County, and he'll respond by saying, you're right, I've been negligent, I'll get everybody together, so I'll call you back. Well, that's neat. It really is. There it is. We're going to be in that thing before, we'll be in for the fall term next year. So we're going to get out of our old school and into this one. And it's been a lot of years since a school building is built in Mifflin County, so that's going to be kind of nice to get your name on a plaque. It's going to be there for a few years, maybe 50 or 60. But it's really getting there now. We've tried to use, the opening up the walls a little bit to give it a little bit less egg crate type, situation. But we have a very strong emphasis on going back to basic fundamentals, basic education. Not necessarily the 3 R's, but
maybe the 3 are to a certain extent. We don't want to go back to the dark ages, but we want to get away from some of these confounded, nutty concepts that are doing nothing to teach your kids anything. And it's not easy to you know, get educators moved in that direction, but we're getting there. We holler and scream long enough, and we'll get it done. I had a guidance counselor tell me the other night at a meeting that it's very important that we teach our young men how to sew buttons on shirts, because there's so many more bachelors today than there used to be. I won't tell you what I said, but I had that said to me. Well, that really is important, to teach someone how to sew a button on a shirt. Whew. If I were a bachelor and I had a button off my shirt, I don't think I'd really spend a lot of time worrying about sewing it back on myself. I don't know how everybody else does it, but when I take my shirt down to the cleaning place, I just tell them to sew the button back on. They sew it back on. They don't seem to have a big problem with it. Oh, gosh, they don't even charge me. Jewish people believe that study, that education is the closest way to God. It's knowledge. So the emphasis on education and study, the awareness that living by your wits and being aware of who you are, and I think is an advantage to a young fella from the standpoint of getting along in the business world.
You're a school board director, and you yourself admit that the parents don't give a damn
about
what happens.
The parents are unaware of what's going on.
But I mean, your whole attitude of they ought to take all these kids and throw them out of school.
You've got about as much chance of curing a drug addict as you do an alcoholic.
That's not
That's
true.
not true, Jack.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh.
How do you know? What are you basing
My
this on?
son-in-law is director of a halfway house in New York.
Yeah.
And he has, I don't know how many in number, but a lot of graduates that have graduated this program and have not gone back to drugs.
What percentage?
About 3% go back to drugs.
I don't
Pretty
believe
low.
it.
Well, it's true. He has statistics to prove it.
I don't believe it.
You know, you say that you don't believe it. What are you basing your opinions on? Tell me what you're basing your opinions on.
I don't think that you can take a young person, someone who's really on the hard stuff, and have that degree of success in rehabilitating them.
That's not true.
I don't believe it. I'll bet you there isn't anything accurate about the way he keeps records.
Hell, there isn't.
Okay, so what do you want to do? What do you want to do with a kid on heroin? And
I don't know what I can
11th grade.
I don't know what I can do about a
in
kid.
The school system.
I don't know what I can do about a kid with heroin. What I'm saying is what we've got to do is stop the goddamn stuff. Get the marijuana and all that shit the hell out of our society. That's what I'm saying.
Well, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, how do you propose to do that?
Tougher laws, tougher judges.
Yeah, but the laws aren't getting
The laws
tougher.
are getting more lenient than they are.
I mean,
all right, then we're gonna have a problem?
5-10 years from now, marijuana is going to be legal.
I don't believe that.
Might not be legal, but it won't be illegal either.
I think pretty soon, sooner or later, the community has to get disgusted with it.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, give me what is there to be disgusted with?
Jay, I sat in a hearing about 3 weeks ago with a young man who was a B student in algebra and a good solid BC student who just got finished flunking Algebra 2, failed 2 major subjects and got expelled from school for the balance of the year. Marijuana. He got involved with it, and the people that fool around with it, and the first thing you know, he lost his responsibility. And when you got kids, like I got a kid in junior high school right now, and that worries the hell out of me.
Yeah, but just
Because I know, first of all, forgetting the medical aspect of it, I know what society will do if that kid gets caught. He's in trouble. If he does it, he's in big trouble.
that's while it remains illegal.
He's in big trouble if they ever make it legal. With me. Because he's not going to tell me at this stage in his life that he's got to find a goddamn crutch to go from day to day to exist.
You do.
What?
You're martini.
I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not home 4 nights a week. I don't drink anything.
You know,
As far as I'm concerned, right now, I never have to drink it.
I don't need it to exist. I'm not sitting down here sneaking a drink all day long to cope with my business problems. That's a private thing that I do on my own, if I choose to do it.
Well, what about the people?
But I sure as hell ain't gonna let my kids do it.
Well, what about the people, adults, you know, that smoke pot in private?
Yeah. What do we have to be in touch with ourselves for? Isn't it enough just to have to be able to pay the goddamn electric bill and the food bill? Huh? Keep your family happy, love your kids, your wife, go to church.
Watch them grow
What
up,
happened to that stuff?
graduate
What
high
is,
school.
you know, wasn't that thrilling? 4th of July firecrackers. Right. What the hell do you got to be all bent out of shape all the time
Sunday picnics, family gatherings.
I mean, that's a fallacy. The person only smokes pot just to get rip-roaring high so he loses control of himself. First of all, it doesn't
Jay,
happen.
you're full of shit and you know it.
I'm not full of shit.
Yes, you are.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not an expert in marijuana. No, all I know is it's bad news.
You ever smoke it?
Of course.
You still do?
Supposing
That's right, I do. Do you think it affects the way I deal with customers? Do you think it affects the way I work here? Do you think it affects my business?
Well, you know, based on your performance. Tell you what you do, Jay. Stop it for a couple of months and let me try see if something happens that makes it better. Yeah, we just got through pissing away an hour of good company time in this frivolity. I want you to know that.
How much did this meeting cost the company?
Do you know the nicest thing you could do for me? Give me a bigger wastebasket to throw your letters in. It clogs up my... Huh? Yeah, where's my Christmas present? Personally speaking, I've a long... it's been a number of years since I reached the conclusion that I was not going to run the largest corporation in the United States of America, and that I was not as intelligent as Howard Hughes, and that I have some talent in some directions, but basically, if I can consider myself an average good businessman, fine. What the hell's it worth? Who needs it? You know, my kids' class is studying the newspaper and they can't study the editorials because I'm in it every other night. The teacher doesn't want to embarrass them. No, they're yelling at me for the band. They're yelling at they take my name in vain constantly. You know, I'm getting to that point now where I'm willing to understand what my own limitations are and where my own strengths are. That's kind of important for peace of mind and a lot of things. So you have enough brains and enough sense to know when to ask someone who knows more than you for advice. All right. Is that how you put things on my desk? You're so afraid of the camera you have to come around the wall and throw things at me? Huh? Here, come get this. Is that how you put things on my desk? You're so afraid of the camera you have to come around the wall and throw things at me? Huh? Here, come get this.
Tell me how you feel about seeing yourself on television.
Well, it's, I guess my first reaction is to, I don't know. I think I'm funny. Honest to God, I just have to sit here and laugh at myself.
What other things does your outfit plan other than feeding the old people ice cream?
We're buying a water mattress for them all at home. These... Now listen, Jack, if you have to lay in bed,
You have to
month
get laid,
after
you should
month,
have a water mattress.
if you have to be sick in bed, you see how many bed sores you hit on your...
You know the sorority she belongs to? Two of their pet projects, major projects so far this year, are feeding ice cream to the people in the poorhouse and getting a water mattress for the women and the fellows at the Malta home.
And the ladies that are using it are 101 years old.
And I think anybody would say that about themselves, really. I'm not being egotistical, but when you go through every day, you don't really pay that much attention to, you know, how you're acting. But then when you sit back and see, as someone else sees you, it's funny as hell. It really is. There's a lot of crap that goes on. I guess that's what keeps everybody sane. But, no, I enjoyed that very much. I think maybe I've gotten, I think I've learned a few things about myself this evening.
There is a lot of crap that goes on in life, as in business. It's how it's handled that's interesting and important. This program was an observation of an individual who is involved, who never thinks of what he does as a job, whose early heroes were the workers in his father's plant, who now needs $600,000 to keep the plant open and running, who is part of a family business, who understands and honors his heritage, and who enjoys it all. It can sound a bit mythic after a while, but the producers here at Penn State Public Broadcasting found Jack Sitkin to be open, animated, and knowledgeable about his business and about himself. To those of us not directly involved in business or in management, there is an enormous fund of information here. Not the principles they teach you in business schools, but the realities one would learn in business. For those of us who are not a part of it, it is important to understand, and it certainly is interesting. Sitkin Smelting and Refining went bankrupt in 1978, shortly after Jack opened a new plant in Alabama, which was in turn sold to another larger company with Jack as manager. When Jack was last contacted, he reported closing that company to become a brass salesman for 2 additional companies. But mostly he talked of his new hobby, community theater. His favorite roles, Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof and Big Daddy in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Just an average businessman in a small company in rural Pennsylvania. Not a big deal, perhaps, but perhaps it is the little things. The office banter that smooths the path of business. The desktop paraphernalia that defines the atmosphere of business. The harsh and sometimes softer tones in which business is conducted. Perhaps this is how we can come to understand.
A copy of the program you've just seen can be purchased through Penn State Media Sales at mediasales.psu.edu or by calling 800-770-2111.